everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you are doing well. Coming back, I just did a message a couple of days ago, and if you haven't checked that video out, I do recommend that you go back and watch it. It's the one right before this one because getting that message and allowing that to land, this is just sort of an extension of that message. And one of the things that the divine really wanted me to bring in with this transmission is, yes, we are positioned at these doors into these new beginning timelines, into this new cycle where we have so much creative power to manifest and create it in whatever way that we want, in accordance and in alignment with our soul blueprint. And because we are still in the universal 9-year, even though October is a pivotal moment, what they're showing me is the Wheel of Fortune card in the major arcana. And this is the energy I'm seeing, this turnaround that's happening in October that is kind of repositioning us. It's sort of tweaking the GPS in many ways and bringing in so many of the new characters and the new situations, places, spaces, ideas that are going to form that infrastructure of these new timelines that are opening for us. But because we are still in that universal 9-year where we are closing out a cycle and we are closing out a chapter, one of the energies or one of the distortions that the divine really wanted me to talk about, especially because it's Libra season, and I'll explain why that is in just a minute, is the energy of people pleasing. So before I kind of dissect this and unpack it, I do want to say a few things about Libra, at least, approaching Libra energy as an alchemical process. And sorry about that. I have somebody outside my window talking. You might hear there's somebody jogging around the building and just talking real loud. So I'm sorry if you hear that. But Libra, as all astrology signs, has an alchemical process. And as the sun transits these signs, regardless of what your sun sign is or your moon or your rising or any of all that, regardless of what that is, when the sun is transiting that sign, it illuminates the issues and the energies and the storylines and the alchemy that's present within each of those signs. And so we're transiting Libra at this time, and Libra is all about our relationships and our ways of relating and how we deal with other self, which is why traditionally Libra rules the 7th house, which is marriage and partnership and all that good stuff. But on a deeper level, because all astrology signs, all of these signs, their energies run on a spectrum, right? So when you go into the higher spectrum energies of Libra, what you start getting into is its alchemical process and the divine law or the universal law that it governs. So Libra is the law of cause and effect. So in this pivotal year, it's so powerful because the law of cause and effect is the universal law that is the timeline law, really. And it just is, that for, every decision that you make, everywhere where you are, whatever your reality is, it is because of a choice made back there or a decision made back there or an action taken back there. So whatever you choose in the now moment determines the timeline that you end up on. Conversely, whatever choices were made back there are the direct result, or the consequences and circumstances you find yourself in is the direct result of choices that you made back there. That's basically how timelines work. You're presented with a choice point, and whatever decision or choice you make determines the timeline you end up on. So Libra governs and rules all of that. And it is a season really almost to kind of reconfigure and shift out of circumstances that you're in right now that were created by decisions back there to affect and determine the next timeline step in its energy. It also, its energy, going back to the whole thing with relationships, and don't worry, I'll bring this all together in a minute. I like to just lay kind of unpack the suitcase and take all the pieces out. We'll look at it and then we'll put it all together. With Libra, with relationships, again, we're dealing with spectrum energies. On its shadow side, again, Libra is gracious. It's about relationships. It loves other, people, loves relationships and connecting and all of that kind of thing. But in its shadow energy, it can be people pleasing. And this is one of the energies that the divine is really calling us to work with. And you might be saying, well, I just do me. I'm not a people pleaser, But I do encourage you to kind of listen, because the way that the divine has given me the definition of people pleasing and how it manifests and the misalignment that it creates, you might just start to see some things still going on within your space. So with everything that I share, just kind of take what resonates, leave the rest. And as you do your inner work, just go back and reflect on some of these energies coming in, because it's very crucial in this month to heal any places and spaces where you're operating from this. So people pleasing, as the divine gave me, the definition that I received was, it is the way that you make your truth disappear so that you might receive love and approval from others, whether it's a love or approval that you perceive that you need from this person for some reason, or you're actually trying to get it. You're trying to offset rejection, so you just make your truth and your authenticity disappear. And this can show up in a myriad of ways, and one of them is the inability to say no. And I know for me, that's one thing that I've struggled with, for a very long time, is even when I do say no and I'm trying to be in my power, I still feel guilty sometimes. Saying no to others. It's hiding your truth because you're afraid it's going to be rejected. It's about, aligning with what the people around you want for you, whether it's family, friends, coworkers, whatever it is, what they want for you and what they think is the right thing to do. And you abdicate your truth so that you can not, have them still love you and have them still approve of you. It's all of those ways in which you take your authentic self and those components of it, and you put it over there so that you can impress, please, or have the acceptance of whoever is on the other end. So this can show up in a lot of different ways, but the important thing is that when we are aligned in this energy where we are making what it is, who we are at our authentic core, our core frequency that emanates and stems from our soul blueprint, when we deviate away from that, and we become misaligned, it's very difficult for us to get on these timelines, because as we purify through the inner work that we're doing, and it's not just about the inner work we do either, we have a lot of these solar codes, these plasmic codes that are coming in from the galactic center that are also creating light body activations, shifts, DNA cleansings, activations. So there's stuff happening ahead in the heavens, above and below, right? So as above, so below. And then there's the inner work that we're consciously doing as we navigate our lives, whatever ways we've been given to do that. And so one of the downloads that the divine has given me about the nature of God, Divine Mother, Divine Father, is Divine Mother, or the sacred feminine, is love. And the divine masculine energy is truth. And both of those frequencies comprise the overall conscious field of the divine mother father. God is the divine truth. It's the structure. It's the order. It's the law. The divine mother is the love, the empathy, the nurturing, the intuition, and all of those things. And because our masculine energy is what creates that structure and foundation, and I'm not talking about men, I'm talking about energy here. It's what creates structure in our lives. It's what allows us to build and create and take action. When that truth energy is bound because we're so wanting to please this person or impress this person, or we're running on, a lot of light workers run on martyrdom programs where they kind of overgive and extend themselves and die to their own dreams and needs to, fix or help or love somebody else. When we're in that, when we're not aligned with our truth and our blueprint, because the blueprint structure is coming in from the masculine energy and it sits within our template as an instruction set, all of these types of energies are masculine in their origin. So when we make our truth disappear, we are moving away from our organic blueprint, and we're living a false reality that comes from these secondhand realities that we create that come from those childhood wounds where, we've been taught perhaps that whenever we disobeyed, we were punished. So it kind of conditioned us to kind of, we have to do what these other people want if we want their love and approval, or we're going to be hurt. Sort of like a survival mechanism that's very outdated and needs to be released. Or, we grew up in households, and for Earth Angels, Starseeds, Lightworkers, this is more the norm than the exception, where we grew up in these extremely toxic households, oftentimes where there was a narcissistic, a parent that had the disorder, the narcissistic abuse disorder or alcoholism, and there was a lot of childhood emotional neglect. And when, because I've been through this, and when you're dealing with a narcissist, you know that you are not you in their eyes. You are an extension of their story, the story going on in their head about who and what's really going on. And there's a lot of distortions around that. So when you grow up learning to be sort of a secondhand, sort of like a supporting actor in somebody's larger than life movie of anger and blame and whatever it is, alcoholism, emotional abuse, whatever it is, you become very accustomed to just handing over and making yourself disappear so that this person can be prominent in the stage in your life. But the problem is that when we grow up with this pattern and we continue to use this as a mechanism, or the imprint is so deep in the subconscious that we're running on this on autopilot, we really need to explore those areas and places in our lives where we are first of all, not maybe even connecting with our truth, or how we're letting the opinions or the perceptions of others shape how we move with the truth. Because every time we move again away from our truth, our inner truth, that's part of our blueprint, which is what we're here to do, be, and have. Or even when we do it to ourselves, right? When we get that inspiration to go in this direction, and then there's this other part of us that just beats it down with the what ifs and yeah buts and everything else. That's a way that we abandon ourselves and we abandon our truth. And it creates these leaky energies, these leaky boundaries where it's so easy for those who do have that narcissistic template and consciousness field to come in and attach to our lives. And that's why, so many empaths struggle with this energy, because many of us, it's a reflection of the conditioning and the programming. And once we start to map that out and clear it, we can get more into alignment. So this energy is one of the key things that the divine is either going to help you purify from, or cause you to look at and see which ways. I'm sorry. When I start channeling and really bringing messages in, I do fumble over my words. I'm sorry. It does happen a lot. But we have the opportunity to map where this is going on in our spaces and in our lives so that we can move into alignment with these new opportunities. And, when we're going into the universal 1 year, and again, I mapped this out a little bit more in my previous video, we're talking about, these archetypal energies. We're talking about the sun, we're talking about the magician and other stuff. But what we're also talking about too is one is the self. It is the you. And it is saying yes to yourself. But sometimes in saying yes to yourself, you have to say no to something else that is no longer in alignment. And doing this in this month will activate the key code. What they're showing me is one of those hotel cards. When you tap it to the sensor and the door opens, the key card really does come from you being able to truly walk away and let go of those things that are holding on for dear life, or things that you're holding on for dear life, but they are not aligned with your soul blueprint. And this could be internal as far as beliefs and thoughts and mental prisons, or it can be external as far as perhaps people in your life. Again, we're talking about Libran energy, people in your life that are still trying to keep you trapped in old roles that you've outgrown, and you needing to put your foot down and have those boundaries. And in that way, we experience Libran balance, because we're talking about the scales too. So there is some sense of balance that is happening within us. And what I feel here is that one of the biggest places and spaces where this can happen is in our relationship to our truth and what it is that we want to create for ourselves, and the others that we have in our lives, or the other things that are in our lives that are keeping us in balance because we're disconnecting or making our truth disappear, or we're pushing it over there so that we can survive, or so we can do this or we can do that. This is one of those places and spaces that is really up for healing in the month of October, so that those cycles can be completely closed out. And I feel like there's going to be many feedback mirrors around this, if this is something you still struggle with, or if this is something that you thought you no longer struggled with, but here it comes again. So I hope that was a blessing for you. I'm just going to bring in some pure source energy here, some gold plasma light, the purification frequency. And if you would like to receive a healing to assist you in releasing and cleansing from your subconscious database, any old tapes, files, programs that are still running any level of people pleasing or any level of disconnect from your own soul truth, and to animate your soul blueprint in a powerful way that speaks to your intuition and speaks to your heart in a way that you can start navigating differently to get in alignment. I know that was a whole mouthful of words. If you would like to receive that healing, just say yes. And just breathe into the gold plasma light. Take a moment to feel into any places and spaces where you might feel that activating in your body. This could be where you're holding trauma or energy or memories around any programming around this in your body. Thank you, Holy Mother. Thank you, Holy Father. And so it is. I hope you enjoyed this video. Believe me, there's many, many more to come. There's a lot popping in the fields right now. But feel free to like, share, and subscribe and all that good stuff. And let's have a conversation in the comments if you want to let me know how this message blessed you or what your takeaways were from it. Do know the website will be up in just about a week, so I'll be really excited to have a mailing list and a home. I have a light worker with a home and a website. There's no place like home. Until then, I love you. God bless, and I'll be in touch again soon. Bye-bye.